Hello and welcome to this edition of the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. My name is Michael McGuire and I'm joined here today by Professor Haley Sigler, the Assistant Director of the Teacher Education Program here at Washington and Lee. Thanks for joining me, Professor Sigler.
Thanks for having me.
To start off, I wonder if you could explain a little bit to our viewers, what is the Teacher Education Program here?
Okay. For the past many years, Washington and Lee has had a partnership with Mary Baldwin College as a way to license teachers to teach in K-12 public schools in the state of Virginia. So the students who were interested in teacher licensure would have to travel. Many of them probably remember having to travel to Mary Baldwin to stand 30 minutes to take some education courses. And we've gradually been looking at ways to pull the program back on campus here and to be able to offer all the courses for licensure at Washington Lee. And we're actually applying currently for national accreditation for a teacher education program that's a consortium between Washington Lee and VMI and SVU. So as a program that would license teachers to teach in K-12 education in the state of Virginia, but then also they would have a license that's reciprocal with other states. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to that consortium bit a little bit later.
Okay.
But to start, could we talk about how big is the program here? How many students are involved, and what kinds of students are involved in this program?
Okay. I teach, as well as Professor Lena Aujour, teach a Foundations of Education course that we're currently offering in the fall, that hope eventually to be able to offer it both in the fall and winter terms. And in that class is a mix. Some of the students are starting as young as sophomores and know, I want to get licensed to be a K-12 teacher. Some of them are interested in Teach for America, or interested in education policy, maybe applying to law school but doing something in education, so would just like a background in the Foundations of Education course. Essentially looks at the history of education, Horace Mann and the founding of the Common School, and also current issues in education, as far as funding with current public K-12 education, issues involving special needs students in the classroom and where that funding comes from. So all the way from the history to kind of current issues in education is that course. Yep. Okay.
And there are only 2 professors in the program, is that right, here at WNL?
Yeah, so currently the teacher education official program is, the courses are all taught by Professor Lena Aujour and myself, which is one of the reasons we're interested in this consortium, is that we have a larger draw. One of the things that we are excited to start offering are some methods courses for like foreign language methods. Is going to be taught by Professor Dick Kittner, who is in the Teacherr Media Center. He's going to be able to teach a foreign language methods course. Same thing for some current faculty in the music department. Would also be teaching some of the higher ed or the higher courses for the students who are getting licensed in like content area methods. But as far as the introduction, history of education, and actually my focus, I was a public elementary school teacher at Waddell, actually locally. So my focus is the methods courses for the people that are going to become elementary ed certified. So they take like a teaching elementary reading course, like a course on literacy and teaching reading, and a methods courses also in like math, science methods, and language arts, social studies methods. So, but the bulk of the courses at Washington Lee would be taught by Professor Aujour or I, and with also some additional faculty. And then potentially the growth, when we have this consortium, the students would have the opportunity to then take courses at with SVU faculty or with VMI faculty as well. So.
Right. Now, currently, some of these classes are offered though on those campuses. Is that right? But they're taught by Professor Aujour and by you?
No, actually, like currently for the last couple of semesters, students have had the opportunity. So if they're interested in getting elementary ed certifications, one of the requirements is, we believe it's really important for people who are getting elementary ed licensure to have a background in art and music and movement integrated within the elementary system. So those courses are taught by Professor Kim Kearney, who's faculty at SVU. And our students have been actually, for the past past few semesters, we've had a couple of students going over there in the mornings, taking some courses at SVU. So yes, and we've actually been able to provide transportation for them. We know, one of the issues at Washington Lee is transportation for students, as fewer students are bringing cars on campus. We want to be able to, if we're going to have this consortium, be able to offer transportation for our students to get out to the other schools for the consortium. Obviously VMI is close enough to walk, so that hasn't been an issue yet. But students have taken also courses at VMI in the a secondary methods course for those who are getting like 9th through 12th grade certification, take a course in secondary methods that's been offered by some faculty at VMI as well. So, yeah.
Now, looking ahead for this consortium, I understand that SVU needs to get its regional accreditation first, is that right?
Yes, yes.
And then what other things have to be accomplished before the consortium can begin?
Okay, we actually are very positive that SVU is going to have their SACS accreditation by, I think they're hoping June 1st, so this is a program that we would hope would be in place next fall, and they've already had their preliminary visits and had no red flags, so we have every anticipation that they'll receive their SACS accreditation in June. And so after that, basically, actually tonight and for the next 3 days, we have a visit from an accrediting organization called TEACC, which is the Teacher Education Accreditation Council that's actually housed in Charlottesville, that accredit teacher education programs nationally. And we are applying for a national accreditation for the consortium, which will be called the Rockbridge Teacher Education Consortium, RTEC. And following a successful accreditation visit over the next few days, once that goes well, we'll have a visit with the State Board of Education, which will, once we have national accreditation, we will apply, and then they'll recommend that we become an organization that can license by the state teachers. So we'll appear on a Virginia Board of Education visit, or a visit from the State Board of Education meeting, and then once that is approved and SVU receives their SACS accreditation, we'll be ready to go with the exchange officially in September, or in August when our courses start. So September. Will
this affect the relationship with Mary Baldwin? I mean, will students stop taking courses there? They
will, and actually they haven't been taking courses from Mary Baldwin for the past few years. What happens is the state, Mary Baldwin is a state recognized body that can license teachers, if you will. So they have been actually wonderful to be processing our paperwork for our students who wanted to get licensed. So Mary Baldwin has been doing that for us for the past many years. I think they will be happy when we are processing our own paperwork. So for the past few years, the students who are getting licensed are taking all of their courses here anyway. Mary Baldwin is just recognizing our Washington Lee faculty as officially kind of adjunct faculty at Mary Baldwin. So even though the students, this is very confusing, are taking a course at Washington and Lee, it's also officially on the books at Mary Baldwin. So students are officially in Mary Baldwin courses. So for that whole confusion of registration, we'll be very happy when we're dealing with our own program. And frankly, I think Mary Baldwin will be pretty happy too that we're our own program. We've worked actually very closely with them as we develop our program. We've had some retired faculty at Mary Baldwin work with us to help develop our program. So they've been a very good resource throughout this whole process. So, yeah.
Now, this is not a major or a minor that people are adding to their degrees, when they're leaving school. Is this a special certification? Is this a marketable thing for students to add to their degrees while they're leaving here?
Yeah, I think it is. We've actually seen an increase, I think, with the economy. People are concerning of, what am I going to do with, this particular degree? And I think teaching in a K-12 arena has been something that has been more interesting to students. So I think we are having a lot of interest to that. We're currently not a major or minor because the state of Virginia does not allow education to be a major. It can be a minor. And And with the creation of minors, actually one of the things that we're interested in looking at down the pipe is is making it also a minor, but currently it's a certification that can be on the that can be on the student's diploma, that they have this certification that is, nationally accepted, respected teacher education certification that they could go and teach back in their home states or anywhere with this license. So it's a marketable thing. So.
Okay, you mentioned that this certification is that you have professors coming in from certain areas like Romance languages or music. Is there a certain kind of student that's looking for this teacher education certification? Are they coming from a particular area of study?
No, we actually have had them. We've had history, we've had art history, we've had math, we've had English. I think I'm a first generation college student myself, and I think we see a lot of students who know the difference that a really good K-12 teacher can affect change, and a lot of the reasons why some of them end up at schools like Washington Lee is because they had really good public school teachers. So I think it's a lot of times the student's background of they see teaching as a service profession, and it's something we know that Washington Lee honors service, and they see this as a way that they can use the degree that they're getting at Washington Lee to give back. Some of them are interested in going back to the communities where they're from and teaching. Some of them knowing that it's like a marketable skill that they can take anywhere and use and affect change in a K-12 public system. So,
what would you say is the percentage of the students that are getting this certification and then using it as soon as they leave school here?
A large percentage. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but most of our students, and actually I think we're 100% of our students that have graduated, I say we had 10 student teachers just from Washington Lee in the last year or two, and I mean, off the top of my head, I would say 90% are using our teaching in K-12 schools. So they're using it.
Yeah. I had just a few more questions about the consortium.
Okay.
This would be headed out of Washington and Lee, or would there be different directors in each school, or how does something like that work?
Yeah, it's organized by a steering committee, which is essentially the directors at the 3 universities, and we've been meeting actually as we've been going through this accreditation process at least once a week for the past year. We'll continue to meet as a steering committee with the directors from the 3 universities. We've also had a lot of meetings with the registrars. As I'm sure you can understand, there's a lot of exchange issues of no tuition being exchanged, but how do we get students on the books at that university or this university. So the registrars have been really great in organizing that and meeting with us as well. So eventually we do hope that maybe there would be a position that would be the RTech field placement coordinator. So one of the pieces in this is setting up all of the placements for the students who are going into the K-12 schools and facilitating kind of that relationship with teachers, with current public K-12 teachers, and that's a lot to orchestrate. So eventually maybe there would be someone who would kind of support the directors in all 3 schools by doing that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all the time that we have for this edition of the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. I'd like to thank Professor Haley Sigler for joining me, and for those of you at home watching, thank you. We will see you next week. I'm Michael McGuire.